This is the one you've been waiting for. It's been a long time coming, and I can't believe I'm actually doing it. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. Not until after the opening. Hey, I'm James, and I thought I was going to make movies when I grew up, but here I am, and I don't have many regrets about it. I'm here to dork out today about Dungeons and Designs on Crumbling Keeps, the Dungeon Dorks. I did a whole episode on this, but it bears repeating a bazillion times over. Humans are built for stories. We crave them. And it's a big part of why we play RPG games. Now let's talk about that opening I just did. I lied. I'm sorry, baby. I never meant to hurt you. But I did it for a good reason. I wanted to build tension. I convinced you that there was something you wanted. Or maybe I didn't. But let's pretend I did. Something you'd been waiting for. And that created an open loop. You wanted the result of something you didn't even know existed 5 minutes before that. I continued to layer it on, building up more tension. In other words, you won't believe this one weird trick. Spammy marketers do the same thing to sell their products. But so do the good ones. And so do good game masters. We all wait for things in life. You may know me from my Kickstarters, and if you've backed any of them, you know this to be true. Studies show that you're actually happier right before you get the thing than when the time comes that you actually have it. When we anticipate something positive, dopamine is released in our brains. We get a shot of happy chemical just for waiting. Now, I haven't seen any studies on this, but if I was a betting man, I'd put money down that epinephrine or cortisol is released when we're anticipating something bad. Another way to say that is when we have anxiety. But let's take this and make it about gaming. And the takeaway is this: the promise of the reward is often better than the reward itself. The value of a magic item to a player peaks somewhere around the time that they get it. Before they start anticipating it or know that it's there or want it at all, there's no value to it whatsoever. They couldn't care less. But once they've had it for a while, it's common and it doesn't really matter anymore. It's just a part of what they generally do. It'd be like being excited about the toothbrush you use every single night. And please, if you are excited about the toothbrush you use every single night, what brand are you using? Knowing that players, likely subconsciously, value this anticipation and knowing storytelling, we can draw this anticipation out. We can make it come in waves. You're closer, you're farther away. You're closer, you're farther away. Bring them close to victory before moving the goalposts. There's an art to this tease. Too much, and it's frustrating. But a little frustration, that can be good though. Too little, and you've had no buildup. It's just over. And if you're thinking that you can apply this philosophy to other activities in your life that you have with other people, well, it's a good thought. Anticipation is also really important in horror. Dread is just anticipation mixed with some apprehension, an inevitable march towards something bad. I've been running a superhero game for a while now, and we had a scene this previous week that has been what's really made me think about this. It's been on my mind. They were in a house that maybe was abandoned, maybe was not, looking for what they thought was going to be their first supervillain. And they broke in the second story. And as they were going through the second story, they found the bathroom. And there was a rattling in the sink, somewhere down in the pipes. It sounded like that bathroom sink was going to explode. And then it stopped as the rattling got farther away, like it disappeared into the pipes. Well, that's not good, right? But notice I didn't give them anything there. I gave them a hint, a clue. I let them know that there was something. And so as they went through the house, they had some time to forget about this. As they found a corpse in the computer room and a bunch of old metal laying about and other things that were like subtle clues. And then they went downstairs into the kitchen. And in the fridge, they found leftovers that were not moldy and gross, signs that someone was actually still living there. So maybe their quarry was actually close at hand. But in the kitchen was another sink, and it started rattling violently. The pipes sounded like they were going to explode. And they decided, oh no, we're out. We're going to leave that alone. And they turned to leave the kitchen. And so the rattling stops. And instead, from the direction of the sink, they just hear a little coo, like a little purring. Well, they can't leave that be. So they go back into the kitchen, and one of them, holding a baton, shines the light of their cell phone down into the sink, looking down the drain, where they see nothing at first. Because right then, a single yellow eye opened and stared at them out of the drain. Before the creature launched itself out of the drain, this weird, it's like an esophagus attached to metal legs with a little like Cybertronic headset, this weird bestial guts mixed with technology. But you know what? It doesn't really matter what the monster was. Because once they actually saw the monster, it lost a lot of the power it had over them. It was time to roll dice and beat it up. They were back in familiar territory. But beforehand, it was an unknown. It could have been anything terrifying. It was left to their own anxiety to fill in the blanks. Why is that grass moving out in the field? Is something coming to get me? And that's just hardwired human survival instinct 101. But afterwards, it was just something to kill. And doesn't this kind of match the idea we had earlier, where the happiness peaks before you actually get the reward? It's still pretty high when you get it, It is a bit higher when you have that anticipation. So, what does this mean in practice? Well, on the positive side of things, don't give the PCs everything right away. Put that carrot on the end of a really long stick and build it up. Sell the item, sell the clue, sell what they're marching toward as a really good thing, and let that anticipation build. But the same thing with tear, put it at a distance and let it slowly get closer, creeping inevitably towards them. It's a learned skill, and you'll have to do a lot of practicing and feeling out what works for you. But so much of stories is building tension, building anticipation, getting closer and closer and closer, and then finally let them cascade over that edge like water breaking down a dam.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you have any questions about anything I talked about here today or on any past episodes of Dungeon Dorks, go to crumblingkeep.com/question and ask away, or just check the link in the show notes.